This is an open letter, the continuation of my previous open letter regarding with the name Democracy Democracy Corporations and Women. This is the continuation of that. I don't know, by coincidence, yesterday there was a after I finished my video, I was listening to NPR, and there was this program. It wasn't yesterday, it was the day before yesterday, a couple of days ago. During the last couple of days, let's put it this way, I heard as piece of, I think, a program on NPR, there was this piece that basically the short of it is this, that there are evidence that there have been women hunters in years gone by, and the reason for that, these evidence are basically tools of war and tools of hunting that has been found in graves, which is a normal thing to find in old graves, but somehow they felt, somehow they believed that, oh, because these are tools of war and hunting, then the person who died must have been a man. That's a warrior, and they've buried him with his tools of trade. Tools of war, tools of hunting. But then they were astonished that this was a woman hunter or a woman warrior, and that's, NPR was probably providing that as proof that it's a good idea for women to go into the military. You see, it's historically, it's accurate. Historically, women have been hunters. Yes, you don't know. And yes, it's a good idea. Here's the thing, NPR. What I do believe is that's how we know that you're government spokeswomen and men, is because the government has a line, has a problem, as it is a democratic government. Therefore, it thinks short term. As a democratic government, which is inclined to think short term because its period is 4 years. As such an executive power which thinks short term, they find a solution, a very short term solution, and then they tell you to sell it. So what you do, here's to selling it. So what you do is basically now it's your job to go look for evidence to prove the government's case, that it's a good idea for women to, start killing people, become killers. Because you see, then you find the evidence, my NPR friends. I think this part was from Ari Shapiro. You find the evidence as, oh yes, our government is so wise because this has happened in history before. Women have been hunters and warriors and blah blah blah. Yes, we have Joan of Arc, and we have couple in our cultures in the Middle East and East Asia, and I'm sure in Africa. There are anecdotal evidence that there have been very few women warriors and women hunters, and groups of women which went hunting. Of course they have been, but that doesn't mean that should be left to them. Because if you think about it for 2 seconds, my NPR friends, tribes used to fight each other. When there was a skirmish, there was a fight about to happen, both men from both tribes met somewhere to go to war. they send their women and children as far away from the killing field as possible. But they would actually hide them in somewhere very remote, and then the man went to war with each other in a specific location. And believe it or not, most of the time, all the men of one tribe would have died, got killed by the other tribe. That would have been a normal thing to happen. When, you know, there's a war between two tribes, all the men from both tribes, all the fighting age men are present, they start fighting and they kill each other, and one tribe becomes the total dominant and kills all the male fighting age male members of the other tribe. Here are the winners. So what do you think would happen to the women and children of the tribe that just lost the war? They have two options. One is become slaves to this tribe, in which case the men of this tribe would kill all the male boys under the fighting age, would kill all the boys because they don't want, you know, any men of the other tribe survive, so they would kill all the boys, and they would take the women and children as sex slaves and regular slaves and wives and sex slaves and whatever. So that was one option. The second option, which is probably the option that most try to do, most women and children who were left over from a war would try to do, is the second option, is that very quietly leave that geographic location, the women and children, very quietly under the cover of probably dark, under the cover of night, leave their hiding place and go farther away from the winning tribe, because they didn't want to become slaves to them, and they didn't want their male children to die. So the women and children, packed and very quietly under the cover of darkness, would leave that geographic location and try to survive on their own. That's what would normally happen. And for a period of years, because that tribe had lost all the male fighting age male members of the tribe, for years, until the little boys would grow up to be able to hunt themselves, for years, maybe a decade or so, the women of the tribe had to manage, and yes, they would probably learn how to hunt. They were gatherers, but because of the circumstances, they learned to fucking hunt. They weren't born hunters. Women are not born hunters. They're not. They're anomalies. My sister was an anomaly. At 16, she was she was a hyena. Very, very disagreeable hyena. And there are those elements in the society, but they are very small minorities. I don't know anybody like my sister, a full-fledged hyena, and with all the aggression and violence and of a hyena. There are very few, and those few, yes, they can be in the military, and yeah, good luck. This is what they are. This is who they are. But most women are not that. And they shouldn't be that, because they need to take care of children. Somebody fucking needs to take care of children. If the man is violent and aggressive and the woman becomes violent and aggressive because she has spent time in the military, then do you understand what will happen to the children of this family? Here's the thing, folks. Yes, under difficult circumstances, everybody tries to manage, and I'm sure there were women hunters and warriors, but I'm sure it was forced upon them. and it's something unnatural, and it was forced upon them because they lost all their men. Pretty much the same way what happened to Germany after World War II. They lost their men. All the women had to start doing pretty much what happened in in England during World War II. All the men were fighting, so the women were doing the jobs that up to yesterday the men were doing. So yes, under special circumstances, for short periods of time, yes, women, probably you have had women warriors and women hunters, just simply because the men were not available. But this doesn't mean that, because we found a couple of graves that with women with some hunting tools next to them, then yeah, the women have no problem. They should join the military and be a warrior. You see, it's in the history. We found guns. We found tools of war in their grave, women's grave. So here's the thing. Back to our discussion, folks. This is about women joining the military. This is my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't think it should be. It has anything to do with women's freedom and the freedom to choose. The fact is, the military has adopted the same practice that the corporations adopted by pandering to women and their sense of freedom, that yes, you need to be free, and to be free you need to come and join the military. This is what has happened, that the same way corporation wanted more employees at cheaper rates, so they wanted to hire women, and therefore they attached working for the corporation and working for the man as part of the women's freedom movement or women's rights movement. Now the military is selling being part of the military, being a soldier, as a women's rights movement, has attached being in the military, be a soldier, be a combatant, as part of the women's freedom movement, women's rights movement. I don't think it has any. It should. I think it's just a PR job, and I think it's a bad idea, very bad idea. This is a short-term solution. This is as you can say, democratic solution, a very short-term, short-sighted solution. You want the female of your society to become killers? Do you really want the females to also become killers, like the males, and come back with PTSD? Really? A household of the man had PTSD, now the woman has the PTSD as well. And what's going to happen to the children? Folks, the answer to the question of we have a lot of empty spaces to fill with soldiers and we can't recruit enough men, the answer you have chosen is like, okay, let's fill it with, let's go easy on their criminal record, let's go easy on the potential recruits. You have said, let's go easy on their criminal record, let's go easy on their education level, let's go easy on their gender, no problem. The other non-binaries and gays and everybody else can also be in the military because we have a recruiting problem, shortage. And women, hey women, it's your God-given right. You want to prove that you have as much right as a man, come and join the military. Folks, that's what one answer to that question. The other solution to that question of we don't have enough recruits to fill out the empty spots is that maybe you have too many empty spots. You see, you have over 800 military bases around the planet, a lot of them in places that the locals don't want you to be there. Okinawa being one. All over Asia, Africa, it's like the military bases just increase. They don't decrease. They just expand and increase. Well, that's a, you know, that's a attribute of the empire. Any empire is just constantly aims to expand. Any empire. So that's understandable. But the answer to we want to expand without limits, we have a lot of empty spaces to fill with soldiers, empty seats to fill with soldiers, and therefore we're going to lower our standards and just, you know, bring in women on board, and that's going down the wrong path, folks. The right path is, hey, too many military bases, maybe we want to, you know, close some. Maybe we don't need to be there. Maybe the locals can manage. Maybe, you know, we just open an office and say this is our office to, you know, fix local issues, like an embassy, an office attached to the embassy, in order to, you know, if you want to provide any kind of help in terms of Peace Corps. Peace Corps is much cheaper. I mean, expanding United States Peace Corps is going to be much cheaper than expanding the military, because Peace Corps, you know, doesn't have to move around a lot of hardware, doesn't have to build a lot of hardware, doesn't have to, and I think Peace Corps would have much more influence. I'm not sure what's the objective of having so much firepower. Is gunboat diplomacy is the only way to go? Is it sort of like my way or I will shoot you is the right way to go in 21st century Earth? 21st century, after your last Lord and Savior. Is that the right way to go? Gunboat diplomacy, more military bases, we gotta have our boot on their throat to make sure they bend to our will, exactly as we say. Here's the thing, folks, about women and women's equality. I don't think there is an equality. When you say equal, your equal has a specific definition in mathematics, and that means two units are exactly the same. They're equal. They're exactly the same. Just by looking at the shape of man and woman, you can tell they're not exactly the same. Same twins, they call them, you know, identical twins. They're equal. But that's about it. That they're the only two humanoids that you can call equal are twins, identical twins. The rest are not equal. Two brothers are, you know, not equal. Men and women are not equal. Some things this one can do better, something the other one can do better. This is your obsession that you keep. It's not your obsession. The smart one understand it. It's the unsmart one that don't understand it. And that is, you know, the common folks that don't understand it. Equality doesn't exist between man and woman, because the job is different, the shape is different, the wiring of the brain is different. Just like there is no equality between races. I can't play jazz. I can't play a musical instrument. Many of the people I know can't play a musical instrument, don't know, can't learn a musical instrument. This is not my thing. By stating that, no, I am equal, so I have to be able to produce a musical album. I have to be able to be a singer because I'm equal. Do you understand how silly that is? Although I don't have a rhythm, a rhythmic bone in my body, pretending that I am equal to somebody who has rhythm is a bunch of baloney. A guy who has physical aptitude trying to tell him that because he's equal, so he can also be a brain surgeon, although he doesn't have mental aptitude, he only have physical aptitude, telling him that he can become a surgeon is you're doing wrong. You are, because we know he's never going to be a brain surgeon. We just know it because he doesn't have the cognitive aptitude. So you're torturing him, you're demeaning him by keep telling him that he's equal. He has the right to. He's a human being, so therefore he can be a brain surgeon. If he just wants to become a brain surgeon, he can become a brain surgeon. Fuck you. If she wants to be a killer soldier, she has the right to. It's her right as a woman to demand equality and be a killer. This is what you're selling, folks. I'm sorry, but it's just as a human, as a human being who likes to live in a society with less problem, who likes to live in a society with less problems tomorrow than there were yesterday, this is the wrong path. If you want to live in a society that you have less problems tomorrow than you had yesterday, you have to recognize the path that you're going in and recognize that a lot of you may think there are unforeseen consequences, but it's foreseen, it's clear. You have men and women in the society. Just it's bad enough for the men to are aggressive and paranoid and violent. You want to turn the other half of your society to aggressive, paranoid and violent as well? Are we trying to win a race with Klingons? For those of you who don't know who Klingons are, they're fictitious characters in Star Trek, and they're known for their aggressiveness and violence and paranoia and all of that, which is where we are going with this system, trying to bring everybody up as soldiers and defenders and, you know, conquerors and fuck. Here's the thing, I think if women, forget about military service, I think if women go to work and choose to have a career, I think they shouldn't have children. Maybe by law, sort of like, hey, you want to have a career, good luck. But as long as you want to have a career, you can't have a job. You can't have children. The moment you want to you have children, maybe the law should be continue with career, and the moment you have children, you can stay home, and for the rest of your life, we pay you the same amount you were paying, you got paid in your last job. Whether for the rest of your life or at least until your last child reaches the age of 18, up to that point, we will pay you every month an amount equivalent to your last salary when you were working. And that's a good idea. Sort of like, hey, go to school, get educated. This is the message. This, if you go down this path, this is the message it's sending to women. go to school, get educated, and work, start working. But the moment you decide that you want to be a mother, you can stop. But from then on, the government, the system will pay your salary, your last equivalent to your last salary, adjusted for inflation, every month for the rest of your time until your last child reaches the age 18. At that point, which is probably going to be at a point after the woman goes over the age of 65, which is or 64, or whatever the age of retirement is. And after that, basically the income will continue, because now she's withdrawing pension, retirement. So you're giving this option to women to get paid the same salary with option of increasing in amount, just like a regular job. Your pay increases as you advance or you get promotions. Same thing should be for women. Hey, have a job, good for you, get educated, go get a job, work for some years, but as soon as you want to be a wife, you want to have children, you can go home. You don't need to go to your job, you can go home, but the system will pay you the same salary for as long as your children are below the age 18. This is if you want your population to stay the same or increase. This is if you want your women to get educated and work for some time. This is answers to the question of, okay, you have your mothers at home actually being with their children and wanting to be their children, seeing that as their job, because they're getting paid by the government to raise the child, the same salary that she was getting paid the last month that she worked. So this is one way of fixing the problem of your population, fixing the problem of your woman missing out on having a family, or having a family and missing out on a career. But this idea that man and woman both should go to work until the retirement age, who the fuck is raising the children? So, and here's the thing, if a woman decides that they go to work, fine, but they have a child, but they want to still continue working, then the government should have the option of taking the child away. Hey, either you stay at home and take care of your child, or if you want to continue with your career, we take care of the child. You can't, we are not going to let you take care of do a half-ass job of taking care of a child, while at the same time you're trying to keep a career, which in reality you're working for the man, wasting your time. So I think children should be removed from the homes that women decides that they want to work after having children. Children should be removed. End of story. And the main problem with this, keep promoting that you want to have a career, women should want to have a career, is a matter of equality and a matter of career outside their family. It's a matter of equality and a matter of human rights and all this nonsense. One problem is all the women that it pulls out of homes and away from their children to work for the man. The other problem is the women who, for some reason, do stay at home to take care of their family and their children, are somehow looked down upon, and they are, demonished. They feel, even if they're not demonished, they feel bad about themselves not having a career. And that becomes a reason they don't properly take care of their children either, because they feel bad that they have lost a career. They didn't have an option to have a career. that that ma- that makes them feel bad, and that feeling bad about the job at hand, which is taking care of your children, that bad feeling ends up creating what? Ends up a housewife which is depressed and uh, unhappy with herself. Therefore, she won't be a good mother either. So by encouraging women to work outside the house, you both do harm to the woman who works outside the house and doesn't have time to take care of her children properly, and you do harm to the women who are staying at home to take care of their family, their children properly, because you make them feel less because they didn't have a professional career. Basically, they didn't work for the man. Folks, these corporations are running your democracies. Military industrial complex is running your democracies, and they are going down these bad paths. They are going for short-term fix, and one of these short-term fix is to do with women trying to, whenever they're short on men and the job is so bad and so badly paid and so dangerous, so they're short on men, so they encourage the woman to come and join and do the job at half the price. And the women, unfortunately, are so simple, and unfortunately women are such followers. I mean, you see that, one woman paints her face and pretends that she's not 40, she's 20, and you see old women start painting their face, pretending that they're not 40 or 50, they're 30 or 20, just because one woman did. Just imagine an alien landing on Earth and thinking to himself, why half the population in this society paints their face? Do you see the ridiculousness of it? And that's because women don't want to be left out. They don't want to. She doesn't want to look 40 when her friend, who's also 40, has put on so much makeup and so much paint that she looks like she's 20, covering up all the holes and all the making up colors and increasing shades and pretending to be something they're not. So then this woman follows that woman because she doesn't want to be left behind. She doesn't want to be the only 40-looking woman in her group of friends where the other ones all look 20. It's a bad thing to have even the housewives to feel bad that they're housewife. They think they have missed out on a professional career, working for the man, sucking on the boss cock because for a promotion, sucking the boss off for a promotion. They feel they missed out on something great. I don't think the solution for the, in short, I'm gonna go back to it. I don't think I think they're selling women in the workforce. They're selling women in the military. They're selling I think they're selling a bad product when they say women should demand equality. That's a bad joke. That's a bad short-term fix that is going to bring about a lot of long-term problems. Having a lot of women in the society coming back from a you know, a combat background. It's just, I don't know what to say. It's just, who's going to be the fair sex? The fairies? That's why you legalize the fairies. And here's the thing, folks. It's not a matter of equality. Women and men are not equal, just like races are not equal, because different races have different attributes. One is physically more apt, one is mentally more apt. One race stereotypically are more emotionally apt. You can't say we are all equal. The one who's cognitively apt, you know, he has, you know, it's his human right to try to, you know, beat Michael Jordan in basketball, even though he doesn't have any physical aptitude. It's cruel to, just like it's cruel to tell. It's very cruel to tell a person on wheelchair that he can beat Michael Jordan in basketball. You see how cruel that is? It's cruel because if you keep telling him that although on wheelchair he should be able to beat Michael Jordan or be as good as Michael Jordan, then for the rest of his life he feels bad that he's not as good as Michael Jordan. For the rest of his life. And this is why I think maybe Justice Clarence Thomas has voted the right way. Justice Clarence Thomas and, you know, a bunch of other conservatives have voted apparently today or yesterday in the Supreme Court that they don't agree with the terms of affirmative action. I don't know the thick and thin of affirmative action, but apparently it's a law, or it's a idea, or it's a that was passed, that the land was governed by, in which some advantages were given based on the affirmative action laws. Some advantages were given to the races that were taken before. During the slavery time, some advantages were taken away, some equalities, some rights were taken away from the black people, the red people, the brown people, the yellow people. Everybody somehow suffered because the pink skins, you know, wanted all the advantages for themselves. So to fix that, for some years, they have said, okay, we should, you know, give some advantages to those who we held back for a while. Some races we held back for a while, especially the black race. We held back for a while, and therefore it's a good idea to push them a little, because we held them back for a while. Now let's push them. So this was the root of the affirmative action. And in today's ruling, apparently the justices have ruled that nope, we shouldn't try to we shouldn't try to push anybody. We are not going to lower the standards just because of, you know, the person's race or this or that or the other, or change the standard, or have different standards for different people of different races. They basically said we don't want to do that. They basically have said we don't want to do that. We want to have same standards, same, you know, same scale for everybody. Now, I think this may not be a bad idea, because if you clear the road, uh, if somebody doesn't have an aptitude for something, imagine that if me and Michael Jordan try to play basketball one-on-one, and but I have they provide me with a trampoline every time I want to make a shot or I want to dunk. They provide me with a trampoline right in the middle of the game. As I'm running towards the hoop, I jump on the trampoline and go up and knock it up, knock it in. But here's the thing. So that trampoline could be equivocated with affirmative action. Sort of like, yeah, you guys have been held back for a while, here's the trampoline, you jump ahead a little. May seem like a good idea, but then the problem is you're telling a person who's not qualified like me in basketball, by providing me with trampoline and letting me dunk, get into the university or get into the program. The problem is that after getting into the program, because I'm not ready for it, because I don't have the prerequisite information for it, I am not mentally apt for it, I may suffer throughout the program, and at the end, if I get out of the program, get out of the college, if I graduate with all the advantages given to me, I still may not be a good candidate for the job that is lined up for people who graduate from this course, because I'm not apt enough, because I'm not there. I may have got a certificate, I may have got a degree, but nobody wants to hire me because I'm not there. I've been using a trampoline to get ahead. Therefore, imagine a person let's go back to the basketball. Imagine somebody's provided with trampoline during the tryouts, during the high school. All throughout the high school, a trampoline has been provided for a player, and then upon graduation from high school, none of these professional basketball teams want to hire that person because they see he doesn't have any skills, and without the trampoline he probably would not do so well, and they don't want to provide trampoline for anybody. So basically this idea of affirmative action is that if you keep lying about the matter of who qualified and who's not qualified, at one point eventually at one point matters become clear, who's qualified and who's not. You can't hide a lie for too long. If qualified, not qualified, qualified, not qualified. If you keep, giving passing grade to, or keep including a person in a basketball team, although they're not qualified, just keep including them because of, let's say, affirmative action, in this case for white people. Let's imagine there is an affirmative action for white people with regards to basketball, or with even better, there is an affirmative action with regards to Chinese people in basketball. So what do you think that's going to happen? I mean, there is an affirmative action. Every team has to hire a couple of Chinese people, just equality, right? We need to give them an advantage that was taken away from them. Let's imagine, it's an imaginary case. Let's imagine there's an advantage that was taken away from the Chinese people or yellow-skinned people, and Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, Taiwanese, doesn't matter. Let's say there's an affirmative action saying that you have to include these yellow skins in the team. Do you see the problem with that? The problem with that is none of the professional teams, when it's in high school and it's an affirmative action, as long as it's in high school and the coach has to have a couple of yellow skins in her team and a couple of brown skins in her team and a couple of pink skin in the team and a few black skin in the team, as long as it's high school and it's forced, fine, which is what affirmative action is. As long as it's government force and it's a government institution and they're forced, fine. But once they graduate, what happens? They had lowered the standards to have the yellow skin in the basketball team. What happens after they graduate? Will any of these professional basketball teams hire the yellow skin or the white skin or the brown skin? No, because they don't have the aptitude for it. They were in the team in high school because of affirmative action. Something similar to affirmative action. It was like giving a chance to people who, don't really measure up, but let's give them a chance because, they need to be present. Why do yellow skins need to be present in the basketball team? And does it have to be forced? Even if it's forced, do you understand that at one point, can you imagine that yellow skin that all his high school years has been, given through some law similar to affirmative action, has been given a helping hand to be part of the team, been forced, the law has forced the coach to include the yellow skin in the basketball team all throughout the high school. And imagine how disappointed that yellow skin is going to be after high school when none of the professional teams want to pick him. All his life they have told him that yes, you're equal, yes, you're a basketball player, you're a good basketball player. All his life they've blown smoke up his ass. But then after high school, when none of the professional basketball teams are willing to hire this yellow skinned friends of ours, he's going to be so disappointed that he's probably going to, put a bullet in his own brain, because it's just a disappointment. And this, I think, is what Clarence Thomas is trying to avoid with the ruling to, do away with affirmative action. Is just trying to prevent disappointment by a lot of, I would assume, a lot of black or brown and other races that may not have the aptitude at the level that they should have the aptitude to finish such a cognitively demanding course in the university, because he's trying to prevent their disappointment. Because after they finish, although they may have a degree, but none of these fucking, when the professionals are going to play, none of them want to hire this graduate, because although he's got a degree or she's got a degree, they think he's come up through affirmative action, therefore he's probably not as good as they say he is. Even if he's good, they're probably going to say he's not going to be is not as good as they say he is, because he came up through affirmative action. Just like, imagine if there is one Chinese player that is actually good. Just, Phoenix Suns basketball team had this short white kid that years ago. That was who was really good. He was very short and he was white and he was very short, but he was good. So there is anomalies here and there. So imagine that one Chinese kid, one yellow-skinned kid who comes through on high school on his own merits. It's not there because of affirmative action, giving him an advantage. Imagine he comes up through high school, and after graduation from high school, Still, none of the professional basketball teams want to hire this guy because they think, just like other Chinese people, the coach was forced to have him in the team. Although this one is good. It's an anomaly, but it's still good. This unfair advantage, again, it's not a long-term solution. A long-term solution is just go by aptitude. Just go by aptitude. If you got an aptitude, we won't look at. Don't give any advantage or disadvantage because of race. Don't force the basketball team to have players who don't have the aptitude for it just because they're of a specific race, and don't have the law school have students who didn't really actually qualify to be there, but they're there because they wanted some representation from other races. If you raise human beings, even if the other races are not present, their rights will not be trampled upon if the people who are making the decisions are actual human beings. The idea behind this affirmative action is that we want all the races, all the people who are going to be affected by laws, we want representation by those people in the system in order to prevent their rights being trampled upon. It really doesn't need to be that way. If you actually raise human beings, there is little chance that those human beings will, trample upon the rights of other races or other genders, even though they're not present at the table. It's just a simple thing. If human beings are in charge, intelligent human beings are in charge, even if the other races or other genders are not present, the decisions that are going to be made are going to be the kind that other people's rights are not trampled upon, even though they're not present. It's as simple as that. Me and my sister are from the same race, same place, same family, but she wasn't raised right. So if I wasn't present, and a lot of times even when I was present, my rights, my brother's right, my mother's right, my father's rights would be absolutely disregarded by my sister. So the idea that I'm drawing a very, very ugly picture of a sister that I have, and frankly, that's just, when I think of women and dragon and hyena, and when I think of how bad women can be raised, I can only imagine my own sister, that how badly she was raised, that at an early age she turned into a hyena. And this is what I'm saying, that you don't need these hyenas in the society, sending your women to work for the boss man, the boss that treats her like shit. It's going to turn her into a hyena. Sending women to work at an early age outside the house makes, in a man-run environment, in a man's world, sending women out to work in a man's world will turn the woman to a man herself. Turn her violent and aggressive, because the environment affects people. Believe it or not, environment affects people a lot. So a woman, imagine a woman being a mother and raising children, and imagine a woman going to work and trying to, you know, trying to be a co-worker with a bunch of fucking men who behave like wild dogs, which basically men are. This is a manly environment. Manly environment is very aggressive and very everyone trying to keep pissing on the periphery of their territory, trying to keep their territory. This is how, you know, men working environment is. And a female in such an environment will have to behave in a similar fashion. If she wants to keep her job, if she wants to keep her sanity, she has to become territorial, just like men. She has to start pissing all over the periphery of her territory just to make sure she's not violated. And this is how women become in the workplace, just like men. Because the workplace demands either you become like aggressive like your co-workers who are mostly men, or you quit and go home. So either you become like them or you are trampled upon. So what kind of society would want their women to become just like their men? You know, very territorial, very aggressive, very violent, very paranoid. There is one paranoid, aggressive, violent person in the house is enough. That would be the man, because the man is built that way. It's not a good idea to have both partners in a household be aggressive and violent and paranoid, which is what happens when you send women to work, because they work in a man's environment. They turn into men. This is what happens when you send women into military service. Even more aggressive, violent, and paranoid. This is what military is, the military teaching. Always be on the lookout. Folks, you're not doing a favor to your society. This corporation-run system is not good. It's not taking the society to, you know, cling on territory.